Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Nancia Leath, and I'm very excited about tonight, about our guests and what we're going to talk about concerning our raw stories. The first person I'd like to introduce to you, she is part of Women Who Thrive. She's been a part of Women Who Thrive. Wow, for a long time, even from the beginning. Her name is Shanita. Shanita has invited many women to Women Who Thrive. Her voice is known in Women Who Thrive. I'm also excited because she will be going with us to Tennessee to help us plan even the more for 2020, the year 2020 through 2021. So let me introduce to you no other, Shanita. Hi, Shanita. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm well. I am so excited that you have volunteered to tell us about what's going on in your business. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you, Shanita?
Oh, who am I? Thank you. First of all, let me just thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this amazing group, Women Who Thrive. Just the title in itself is substance. So
Wow.
kudos to you for following the Holy Spirit, your vision, whatever it was that drove you to this place.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for that. The platform this evening, I thank you for that. Who am I?
Yes, who are you? Thank you.
I'm a young lady from Pensacola, Florida, born and raised. I've been in Georgia since 1996. I was a single mother for 20 years after my first marriage ended in 1989. And God blessed me with a second husband that I came connected with in 2009, and we got married in 2011.
Okay.
Had a wonderful, wonderful journey together until he passed away in 2015. So, you know, I am a current widow.
Okay, right.
Really encouraging others to live beyond life's tragedies, as I had to find myself doing also. And that is my mission, is to help widows, and widows in particularly, not just that population, but to live again. So I'm a mother of 3 biological children. They're adult children.
Wow.
My oldest is a daughter. She's 36 years old. My son is 32 years old, and my baby daughter is 30. And I am a proud nana of 4 biological children.
Wow.
Bonus children and bonus grands, but I could not be more tickled about my grandchildren.
Oh,
so they
wow.
have given life a new meaning for me. And so that's a little bit about who I am. So
wow.
I'm an author of 2 books. I never, ever in my wildest dream imagined that I would leave a legacy of being an author for my children, great-grands, great-great-grands to read when I'm long gone. So I'm grateful for that, for my journey that has brought me to this place where I am. So I'm a life coach. A life coach that I'm ready to, launch that business into a greater span. So I'm watching you and watching others. Can't wait to hear Miss Princella share her journey as well. So I'm excited to be here.
Wow.
I'm everywhere.
So can we go back, like in 2015, when you first lost your husband?
Yes.
How were you able to transition to where you are today, the joy that you have, and the, helping other people live their life to the fullness after a tragedy?
Well, let me just say this. I was in a very dark place. When Winston had his heart attack on June the 30th, 2015, it was a perfect day in our life. And he laid down next to me to turn his head to me to say, good night, and I love you. And he collapsed right there in front of me.
Wow.
Not knowing CPR, of course, I called 911, called my daughter, ran out of the house to get the neighbors, called her, and hopefully, I was hopeful that when we got to the hospital, that he would have survived that, and he didn't. So fast forward 3 weeks later, 21 days, July 21st, I had to make a decision to take him off the respirator in hopes that he would have recovered. However, that was not the case. He was gone within seconds. So I was in a very dark place from June 30th. Although I was hopeful, I still, a part of me have come out of that place. After he did pass away, darkness was my life. And I know for a fact that it was my faith in God and my family members and my friends who were able to help hold me up, be my ladder holders during that time. Because, you know, there's still fogginess about that journey at that point. Right. And fast forward to 2016 and March of 2010, and when I woke up from surgery, it was almost as if God was in my ear saying to me, live. Live. Because I had really wanted to just not live anymore because it was just very painful. Right. And when I woke up and he was saying, you have to live, you have to help others be able to overcome the challenges that life brings. And I'm like, why me? And it was constantly, I can trust you with their hearts. And I didn't realize becoming a widow, widows were on my heart, tugging on my heart years prior to. One of my best friends became a widow in 2009 prior to my husband losing his previous wife in September of 2009. Oh, wow. And I remember saying to, I was working for the military on Fort McPherson at the time, and I remember looking her information up because we grew up together, and she was, her husband and her family, they were in Valdosta, Georgia. I remember her, and she wouldn't answer, and I would call, and she wouldn't answer, and I would call, and she wouldn't answer. And then finally, months later, she finally answered the phone, and I was going to be on an assignment in Valdosta. We were able to schedule dinner and meet and talk. And I remember at that time, my husband and I had become friends. And I remember saying to him, I need you, Deborah and Winston, to talk because you guys understand your journey together. He was a widower. She was a widow. And they became friends. And that was the beginning of the tugging on my heart for widows. Wow. And so here I am. God said, I can trust you with their hearts because I was always concerned about them. And I wasn't even one at that time. So I looked in my network when I became a widow, and I was like, oh my God, there are so many people in my network that are in my position. So it blessed me to be able to have this group of people who understood the journey. Because not everyone knows what that feels like when you lose a spouse, what that pain feels like. And I oftentimes think about Vanessa Bryant, Kobe, and so many others that have lost spouses suddenly, unexpectedly, tragically, what that void is like. And it is very painful. And so we have the privilege and the pleasure of being in this group together, and we can love on each other and walk through this journey together. And I cherish that they trust me enough to be in that circle. And we are moving into year 5 this year. Wow, congratulations. After the rain, you know, because God said there is life after the rain. Yes. Because when it rains, so sometimes you're like, is it ever going to shine again? But there is life. And so I'm grateful that I can bring some joy, some sunshine, some hope to other widows and widowers during their time of tragedy. That is awesome. Another thing too, I noticed that on your page, you were talking about having a Valentine's party for singles. Tell us about that. Yes. So I'm a part of a group on Facebook called Pursuit. And it's for this particular one, and it's no pun intended for any other race, but this one is for Black single Christians. And I joined the group. Somebody added me to the group, but it's been around for about 3 years. And I was given the opportunity to host the first Atlanta on Valentine's night. I chose Valentine's because so many singles are, lonely and don't have a lot to do, and so we chose that night to host the meetup. So we have over 150 people registered for this event. So I'm pretty excited, but feeling a little overwhelmed at the same time. But truly excited because I love to see people connect and couples connect and have a solid future. It's just like my Life After the Rain group. I have a couple in my group that got okay, and they met last February when we had our book signing for my my group of widows and widowers. They met last February. They got engaged this past December, and they're getting married August or September this year.
That is awesome.
I love the connections.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you see yourself married again?
I do. I
Okay.
do. I do. I do. I just don't want to rush into anything and prematurely and it not be God ordained for me. So that's very important.
Got it. Wow. So tell us about your books. I know you say you authored 2 books. Tell us about your books, please.
Okay. So the first one, can we see it?
Kind of just move it over to the
there we go.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So Is Your House in Order was birthed from the loss of my husband when he had his heart attack and he passed away. All of our personal affairs were not in order. So when we talk about living a life, people say I'm living my best life, but are we really living our best life? Are we handling our personal affairs? So there can be event of an illness, in the event of death, that we have left things in order. So those loved ones that are behind to handle all of those matters won't have to wonder or struggle or be stressed out, because I was literally in a survival mode after my husband passed away because our life turned upside down.
Wow.
Financially. And so a lot of times, do we have things in place to replace income that is going to be absent? Do we have a power of attorney? Do we have an advanced medical directive? All those things that we should really sit down. Me and my husband were educated individuals. We knew we needed to do those things. We said we were going to do them. We thought we had more time, and time ended on June the 30th, 2015 for us to do it as a couple. So this book was birthed to actually encourage people to take the time, not just talk about it, but make it happen. Go meet with an attorney, financial advisor, that your affairs are in order so that your loved ones can continue to live without ever worrying about anything. And so that's book number 1. God gave me a vision with book number 2. I'm so uncoordinated. Abiding Love. Because my love affair with my husband was so genuine. And when I started working with widows and widowers, I realized that in my circle, other widows and widowers had very genuine love that abides in their hearts forever. And so when the vision was casted, and I presented it to those in my circle, 16 of them agreed to be a part of the project. And so it was my personal goal to do a project where we could actually come together and produce something successfully. So it was 3 men and 14 women sharing their stories of the abiding love with their journey as a wife or a husband. So both of those books can be found on Amazon. You can get an autographed copy from myself. I am willing to come and speak wherever, because I am very passionate about getting your affairs in order. I am very passionate about encouraging married couples to work as a team. Team Connolly, that was our name. And we were over our marriage ministry at our church for we worked that thing to the end. And
Wow.
so we really want to encourage couples to remember you're on the same team.
Yes, that's
You really
good.
are. So let's work this thing to death do us part, if it
Mhm.
really means that much to you. So we want to encourage, I want to continue to encourage people to work as a team, to make sure that your affairs are in order, and just live a vibrant life beyond life's tragedies, because you can't overcome the challenges that may take 6 couple of years. But if you have the right support system, like you talk about often, the mental health capacity,
Mhm.
the right love and support around you, you are
Mhm.
able to overcome
Mhm.
life's tragedies
Yes.
and see the sunshine after the rain.
Wow. I just want to post this comment. It looks like Patricia indicated that it's uncomfortable but needs to be done based on,
Yes,
yes.
getting the affairs in order and talking about death, because I remember when going as after my first marriage ended, my mother said to me, Shanita, you should get a life insurance policy on me and your dad. And I
Mm.
didn't want to talk about death of losing my parents, so I didn't talk about it.
Okay.
However, she was very wise at that time. She knew that was a way to generate wealth in the
Well.
family, because
Mhm.
they had their own policies, but this would have been a way for me as a single mom at that time
Mhm.
to have income once they passed away. So
Mhm.
it is a tough topic, but it's a necessary one that has to be discussed.
Mhm. Wow, wow. So if
Mm.
someone is going through this today, Shanita, they lost a spouse, and going through this and don't know what to do, how are you encouraging, how will you encourage them today?
I would encourage them to first, if they're a person of faith, to stay connected to the Word of God,
Mhm.
have those conversations
Mhm.
with Him.
Mhm.
I mean, wholesome conversations, because I honestly believe He communicates back to
Yes, he
us,
does.
and that has helped me, because my first marriage, it was devastating to me when my first husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore after 7 years, and I was a single mom with 3 children. So
Wow.
I know life's challenges and how, they're very curvy and hilly and valley-ish, and how you can still come out and
Mhm.
shine. So that relationship has saved me. The
Mhm.
support system of
Mhm.
family members and friends who genuinely love you has been a wonderful, wonderful comfort to me.
Mhm.
Sought therapy after my
Mhm.
first marriage ended, and even now in life coach.
Mhm.
Every life coach needs a life coach, and so
That's
I
right.
tell people that all the time. So I had a life coach and a
Yes.
therapist, and so
Mhm.
people who've spoken to me and helped me,
Mhm.
get a grip on things or encourage me through the rough patches. So I would
Mhm.
encourage anyone out there to seek professional help when necessary.
Mhm.
Go and talk to a financial advisor,
Mhm.
because whether it's illness or death, we still need to have those affairs in order. And so it's very important to start planning that, just like we plan everything else. And the next
Mhm.
moment, and understand the next moment is not promised,
Right.
but
Mhm.
the time that we have right now, make good use of it.
Mm. Wow, that is so good. Thank you so much, Anita, for telling us your story. Thank you for telling us about your books as well as your event. And what's the date of your event? Is it on Valentine's Day?
It's on Valentine's evening, and it's
Mm-hmm.
in Stockbridge, Georgia, at
Mm-hmm.
Pinstripes Bowling Alley. I
Mm-hmm.
would encourage group pursue to join the group,
Mm-hmm.
and that way they can find the information about the event there. There's
Yes.
a lot of connections happening and a lot of people getting engaged in that group. So don't go in that group if you're not serious.
And also, will you be willing to put the information at the bottom of the after we
In
finish
the
this
chat.
interview? You can put at the bottom in the comments
Okay,
after we
I
finish this
I
interview.
can
So
do that.
thank you so much, Shanita. And
Thank
if you
you.
have any questions for Shanita, please go ahead and put them there. She's going to come back after we do our interview with Princella. So so you don't mind standing backstage for us while we bring Priscilla in, and then we'll bring you back in after we do our interview with Priscilla. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Women who thrive.
All right, I'm so excited. I'm excited about that interaction with. I don't know what's going on with me. I think I'm tired, but I'm coming back. Lord help me. I'm so excited about the conversation we just had with Shanita about her book and why, as well as her event that's going to take place on Valentine's Day. Please look for her information at the end of this conversation. We're going to post it in a comment so you'll be able to connect with her. Go to her group if you are single and need something to do on Valentine's Day, as well as come with her. Now we're about to introduce to you. Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Princella?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. I absolutely loved watching the first interview and prepping and just listening to what was just shared. It was so valuable. So, and I'm excited to be here. Very
Well,
happy
thank
to
you
be
so
here.
much for coming. So tell us a little about yourself.
Well, where do I begin? I know the question is so big. Wow. So a rundown is, my history, a big part of my history and what made me who I am today is my journey of young motherhood and then single motherhood and finding my identity, in Christ. I feel I call myself a late bloomer in my faith and my belief in God and God leading me. But God is who led me to where I am today, what I'm doing today, where I live today, and my husband. And it's just, I love an opportunity to share that story of that, to share how impactful that has been in my life and encouraging others to listen to the promptings. But about me, I was led through this journey that I had to embrace and was a little down on myself for quite a while until I started believing that God had me here for a purpose and a plan. And it was way greater. And I still have no idea what it is, but way greater than I could ever imagine. And so in a nutshell, that's my story. Today, I'm happily married in a blended family. And God has just been so good and what's been transpiring in my life, especially as of late, always good things happening, but really as of late, it's just been beautiful.
Wow. So you say a blended family. How many kids do you all have together?
Yeah. So my oldest is 29 and he's in Arizona and married and
wow.
I'm waiting to be a grandma. And then we have 4 at home. I have 2 and my husband has 2. They're freshmen to senior in high school.
Wow, that's a lot. And you also entrepreneur, is that correct?
I am a life coach that works with female entrepreneurs. Yes.
Wow. And so if we look at your schedule today, because what I'm doing, I'm setting you up for your interview. So if we look at your schedule, tell me a little bit about your schedule. How busy are you?
Well, these days I'm extremely busy. A part of my story that led me here is my journey through working at a nonprofit that serves the community, helps individuals that are challenged by finding work and keeping work. And that's where my journey in life coaching began. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but that's where it began. So recently I was invited to come back to the team and revive the program that we had there that I helped to start at the time of 6 years ago now.
Wow.
And so in the meantime, when I left there, I said, I'm going to be a life coach and I'm going to start my business. And we know why we're laughing, right? Because it's not that easy to do.
Right. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So I had 3 years of learning and growing, working my business. And now it's starting to develop some traction, especially in the online arena with events that I hold locally, but also information that I put out there, similar to what you do. And so balancing the two right now is a little bit tough. But you have to, you learn how to set your priorities, determine what's most important to you, most valuable to you. And that has to lead what your schedule will be.
That's awesome. And thank you for answering that question. And just by what you do, I like what you do. You provide self-care, because that's one of my passions. You provide self-care to entrepreneurs. Tell us what led you to that. Why?
Well, it really does go back to what I shared a moment ago, a lack of belief in my own capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
a lack of believing that there was something greater in my life than I could even imagine, and that I would be capable and chosen for this thing, whatever it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are working off of a premise of a lack of self-love, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not
Mm-hmm.
making decisions that are meant to be in our path. We end up making a
Mm-hmm.
decision for different reasons, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it begins in the work that I do, is clarity in how we feel about ourselves, and building the belief that God has us here for a plan, and God is guiding us through that, whether we're listening or not, because he certainly was impacting my life before I was paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it starts. And as a matter of fact, I'm excited because we'll be having a challenge. My partner and I are leading a challenge, and it's actually the week after Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
For those that either have loved ones, or some people celebrate Valentine's Day with their family, you know, however
Right.
they choose to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And we're choosing the week after to be a time that you center back to focusing on yourself and
Mm-hmm.
creating that self-love. And then we go into the next 4 days of self-care. And we
Mm-hmm.
talk about self-care of the mind. I have my note. I put my cheat notes up here. Self-care of the emotions, self-care for the spirit, and self-care for the body.
So give us an example of self-care for the emotions.
Actually, that is my partner's. I hope she's on today. I invited her to come and watch today, but
Okay.
my partner is a holistic health coach,
Mm-hmm.
and she has a focus that's about the body and the emotions and nurturing. Her biggest message is being true to what you believe
Mm-hmm.
is to be in your life, living that out fully and being true to that. And so when we connect with how we feel about
Mm-hmm.
the circumstance, whatever's happening, and about the decisions that we're making,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we're taking the ultimate self-care for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, in other words, if you see that you have a need emotionally, you do what it takes to take care of yourself in that area.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So the work that we do helps us to get to the point where you don't have to think about it so much. When you start with self-love,
Mm-hmm.
and you turn internally for the answers, you get to know yourself a little bit better. You know yourself at a deeper level and what's really important to you. So when you truly embody it into your life, it's not as taxing or as check the to-do list as we think it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
So
give me an example of that. Give me like a practical example. So if a person start to love themselves or value themselves,
yeah.
what will they naturally start doing for themselves?
Well, so when you get to the point of really truly valuing, and what that means, I want to dissect that a little bit before we get into the next part of that question, is we're learning what helps us to feel good, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We devalue that so much, but the value in that is like the foundation of self-care, and how we get to the next level of really being a person of service that we really want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start with that, and we get to know ourselves on a deeper level,
Mm-hmm.
then we can take that next step into self-care. So I'm trying to think of how you asked me to dissect what that would look like specifically.
Oh
So
yeah, give us an example of what would
right,
that look like, for an example, a person that finally start valuing themselves or
right.
self-love.
Yes. So a part of this journey is journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I've heard you speak about that, or put some posts in your group about that as well. Journaling is so important, especially when you're turning internal for how you feel about yourself, and building up your self-esteem and your self-love. And so as you're journaling, you're learning more about yourself and getting in tune with the feelings that are behind your actions, right? And that in turn leads to, I can't think of a specific example because it's so unique to each person.
Right.
What you discover when you're writing intentionally about a particular topic, say, okay, so a good example might be, Have you ever heard of Lisa Nichols' exercise where you do the mirror exercise and you say, I value, I love Princella, I love you.
Affirmations.
Yes, the affirmations. What's the word I want to say? I forgive you for. I'm proud of you for. When you write these things down and the true feelings start building to the top, coming to the top, then we find out what's underneath. And so say, for instance, we find out that the most trying thing to journal down are the things that I'm proud of myself for. That's when we'll take some of that information and infuse it to maybe self-care for the mind. So we want to work on how we feel about ourselves. And then the activity for the self-care for the mind may be going to the mirror and saying, you look beautiful today. No matter what's happening, no makeup, messy hair, you're beautiful today, Princella. You know what I mean? So little exercises like that, really tailored to the feelings that come up when you're practicing how to build self-love. It's important to build on each of those steps.
Got it. Wow. And so tell us about your group.
So our group, it really transpired through not only my journey, but my partner's journey. Her name is Cornelia Merck. And as I said, she's a holistic health coach. And so our goal was to really create a group that women that are starting off in their journey, maybe in the first couple of years of business, and they haven't quite learned how to balance self-care with all the busy work that comes with starting a business.
Okay.
And this day and age, there's so much misinformation out there about what you need to actually start a business. We think we need all of these things before we've really even formed who our target market is. And then you end up going back and redoing things. And so we're trying to help women to prioritize maybe what they need to be working on right now and learning how to infuse self-care in that process at the same time.
Got it. So basically you providing life coaching, but also encouraging them to implement self-care as one of the goals. Got it. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Got it. Wow. Yeah. And so what would you like to encourage someone if they wanted to learn how to implement self-care by, they may just started their business and their schedule is busy and they really don't know how to do it emotionally, mentally, or physically. How will you encourage them?
Yeah. So my favorite thing is helping women recognize that you don't have to take massive chunks of time to really get in self-care infused into your habits, your daily habits. I started with just 5 minutes of meditation and calming myself. For someone, it may be getting their nails done, and that's the start of self-care. So we can go get our nails done, and it can become a task, right? But if you go get your nails done and you say, this is for me because I deserve this, and and this is what I want to do that makes me feel good and really relish in the moment. So it starts with little things like that, just relishing in the moments that we do automatically care for ourselves, maybe an extra long time in the shower, and just mentally recognizing that this is my time. And it may start with the things that I already do, but starting to adopt that into your mindset. That this is valuable time and this is for me and I deserve this and I deserve to take a few extra minutes of a hot shower or a cold shower, whatever you want to do. And just starting there, if you're watching this and if you have ever thought to yourself, I need to get more self-care into my routine, into my daily habits. I need that. So I want to encourage you to invite you today to just start looking differently at the things that you already do for yourself and start flipping that mental switch to, this isn't a to-do task.
Right.
This is my self-care moment. And the most important thing, and we talked about this earlier, is the mindset around anything that we're doing is flipping the switch to saying, this is my time. And it starts there and then it can grow from there.
That's awesome. I'm gonna twist it a little bit. Do you consider, because I know you were saying what makes you feel good or how it makes you, I guess, your emotion component. Do you also consider self-care Is it only just make you feel good, or would it also challenge you? Or do you think that's
Oh,
okay?
yes,
On the other
absolutely.
side of that.
So, yeah, so I think that where this has worked well, and I'll use myself as an example.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in the world of life coaching, in our education to become a life coach, most programs are going to have you do some inner work. Or, the other thing too is that one of the reasons that you went into life coaching is because it's a natural talent of yours. You're just learning strategies to use. So a lot of times we go into an activity or into a self-coaching practice, or if you're working with a coach, like I love what your previous guest said, every life coach needs a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
I love that she said that, because not just for the component of needing a life coach, but that it's invaluable to have one, but taking the time for that mental self-care, like seeing a therapist. I see a therapist myself as well, and we have got to get away from being fearful of sharing these things. It invites other people to come in. So I went off on a little tangent, so I have to remember what you asked me.
It's okay.
It's so important. It's so important.
Yes, very important. Yes.
What did you ask me?
So for an example, it's all right. I'll bring you back. It's no problem. So for an example, if you need to go to school, like for an example, if your desire is to become a lawyer.
Oh.
However, you don't want to go through the class or go back to college because the feeling or the dreadness. However, because the self-care, because you're starting to value yourself, because you're starting to believe in yourself, you're willing to go through the conflict, you're willing to go through the inconvenience in order to gain or reach your goal. So that's what I'm saying concerning self-care.
Pushing yourself a little bit. So the first example I was going to give was in regards to, we go into it because we have some natural gifts and talents, but there will be a time where we will be pushed to another level. And that's where we have to reach out for resources. We cannot solely depend on our own capabilities, our own mindset. We have to have a belief that we can do hard things, and a belief that we can learn, and a belief that we can do it, but then getting that good supporting systems around us and systems in place, supportive systems in place, so that we can take it to the next level. It's really important to be able to say, it's okay that I cannot do this by myself. I got to this place by myself, and this is pretty good. But now it's time. I want to go to this level.
Right.
And to get to this level, we need each other. We need support. We need to glean from other people's experience and knowledge, and to reach for that help. If we sit and stew, the thing that I want to remind everybody right now on that note is that if we sit and stew with the problem, that I can't, this is hard. We all go through this, right? We're going to go through this, but what's important is what we do after those feelings start coming up. We can't allow ourselves to stew in that for too long. There comes a time where that's when we have to pick up our big girl panties and get the support that we need. And by doing that, you're picking up your big girl panties. Big girl panties does not mean going solo and being by yourself. It means reaching to your higher power, asking for prayer and guidance, and then being obedient, or following prayer and guidance, and then being obedient to what you receive once you've asked for that support.
That is so good, Princella. I like what you said. And also, even with when you're going through that place or get to that place that you feel like you can't go, that self-care component or that value, like regardless of how I feel, I'm still going to do it because I value myself, because I want a different outcome.
Yes.
So I'm willing to do what I don't feel like doing or don't even believe I can do, but I'm willing to take a chance to do it because why? Like you said in the beginning, I value myself. I have self-caring, even if it doesn't feel good.
Right.
So, wow, that's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really challenge everyone that I feel like much of your audience has a belief system in a higher power. And so I think that many times when it's hardest to when we get stuck and are festering in our own negativity, that's the hardest time to really reach out and ask for help. But that's when I say, that's when we've got to turn to our higher power and really surrender those negative feelings. That's when we surrender. We don't surrender. In my opinion, we don't surrender everything, because God believes that we have a place in his plan, right?
Okay.
So in other words, what we need to release and let go of are the negative things that are holding us back from fulfilling what God's plan is for us. And so the reason I bring that up is I share with my clients, and I like to share with my group, that when we can turn to meditation to teach ourselves to calm our mind and free ourselves from the negativity and learn to control our thought process and turn it into being able to receive a message, it's really important to clear our mind and calm our mind, and then go to prayer to be ready to receive the message that we're to receive. So
good. So silence. That's very good. I think Patricia wanted to say, she wanted to give examples. She was saying that example of self-care is staying away from negative people. That's very good.
yes,
Wow.
absolutely. I could not agree more. We've got to be able to recognize who are the negative people in our life, because the challenge about that is that if it's someone that's been in our life for a long time, a childhood friend, maybe maybe even a coworker, and it's not that easy to just sever the ties.
Or even a family member.
A family member? Yeah. So how we stay away, sometimes we can't physically stay away, but mentally we've got to be able to put that shield up and distance ourselves in that way. Yeah, great point.
Good. And I think another person said, I think the statement concerning, I love single mothers, something you start off saying.
So strong. They are the superheroes, yes. I love it.
Yes. Wow. And one young lady just said that, thank you so much for the interview. Thank you for that interview. So that is so good.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And what we're going to do now is bring in Shanetta back in. And if you all have any questions for Shanetta, as well as Princella, please do ask now. We would love to hear what you have to say. If you have a comment, we would love to hear that now. Let's see. We have Graceland. She was saying that was facts. Let's see here. Tanisha said, good evening, I'm here. Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Tanisha.
Right. We have Alex. She was saying, wow. I guess she was saying information. All right, ladies, while we wait for more questions to come in, please tell us, for an example, even with you, Shanetta, I know Princella was talking about self-care, and you have a lot. I know you have your grandbaby. I call you a chef because she could cook. I go to her page. I was like, I'll be my mouth watering. I just want to eat some of her food. She can really cook. How do you manage your self-care? How do you implement that in your life?
Well, I just recently started working full-time July of last year.
Wow.
So I have not done a great job at balancing this new life-changing lifestyle.
Okay.
So to do Zumba. I still try to make sure that I have time to myself. I haven't done a really good job at exercising like I used to on a consistent basis. I do take care of that spiritual care, the emotional care, but I've got to get back to the physical aspect of my life and the consistent nutritional aspect. So those are the areas that I'm working on, because, stress will cause the body to be totally out of whack. And what I realize is from the sudden loss of my is real, and the post-trauma effects from that. I experience a lot of that, and me and my healthcare providers, we talk about it often when we're looking at different aspects of my test results and just things that I'm dealing with. So I think it's very important to the health aspect of our life that we are very attentive to that.
Right.
physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. Make time for all of those things, so that we are doing what we personally can, for the care of ourselves.
That is good. And what would you recommend, Princella? You know, she was saying that she may have difficulties incorporating the physical component. What would you recommend in order for her to insert that on a daily basis or
Yeah.
even through the week?
On a personal level, I realized one of the components I was missing in fulfilling my goal of mind, body, and spirit health was actually my food, my intake of my food. The way I was eating in times of stress, times of trauma, times of what have you, whatever's happening, I wanted to go to the easy thing,
Emotional eating.
you know, the fast food and things like that. And I refused to connect the dots with my lack of sleep due to it, my stress being more intense due to it. When I get stressed, I break out in hives on my skin. That's very painful. And so when I had to connect the dots to the physical manifestations of what was happening to my body due to my eating habits. And once I recognized those, and I'm still working on it, it's still a work in progress. And every once in a while, you know, you have a craving and it happens and you're like, oh, that's why I don't eat that anymore. You know, we have to connect those dots because that's when it will ingrain in ourselves to do something different. And that helps us to get a little more energy, have some clarity. And then when we have that clarity and energy, then we can transfer it to other areas where we end up wanting to take the extra stairs.
Right.
Park a little further out. The little things start happening when we start paying attention to what might be the core of what's causing these things to have a domino effect.
That is so good.
Yes.
That is so good. And what I do too, be honest with you, when I don't have time physical, when I first get up in the morning, I may do like 20 jumping jacks.
Oh.
Or I may run in place. Like if I'm in the bathroom, like I said, I'm not gonna have time to go to the gym, or I'm not gonna make time. I'm not gonna make time because I have a lot of stuff on my. I will run in the bathroom, doing things I need to do. I jog in place just to give me that at least 10 to 15 minutes. Run. I will go up down my stairs purposely 2 times before I go get something, just so I can get that physical exercise, that movement, in order to incorporate that. Because you don't have to go to the gym if you don't have time, or if you can't even afford membership, whatever, that kind of thing. You can incorporate different small things for the physical component, like she was saying, Princella, taking those extra steps, or parking all the way far when you go to the grocery store. Purposely park in front of the light so you can walk to get that in there without even thinking about it. So that's one of the ways that you can incorporate that without even thinking about it, without even hurting your schedule.
I think you topped my tip with like running in the bathroom when you're going to the That's the ultimate multitasker. I love it.
And you know, one of the things that I just recently said to myself is at work I was going to bring my shoes, and on my lunch break for an hour, 30 minutes of that hour, I would walk the parking lot. Now that the weather, you know, is somewhat favorable. But, you know, just making the time, like you said, we really do have to make the time. Because I've lost about 40 pounds since my husband passed.
I
was pushing 250.
Okay. Congratulations on the weight loss.
Yes, 22. Size 22.
Okay.
And so I'm down between 14, 16 clothes. However, days go. And so I feel like I've been at a standstill, and so wanting to just get to the next level. And I know there's some things I must do.
Got it. I think last week we had a young lady, was amazing, was Candace. She talked about how she lost close to 92 pounds. Her and her husband, they went to Costa Rica, and she saw a picture, and she was afraid to even take a picture from her shoulders up. She didn't want to take any pictures of her hips part because that's what her weight. And when she saw that picture, she said, I have to do something different. And she started incorporating. She said she was exercising already, but she wasn't losing any weight. And something Princella was talking about, even your food, she found out different things that she can't eat when they cause hives or whatever. And so she changed her intake of food, and she saw a drastic difference. And that was also part of self-care.
Right.
the other thing I want to add too is that I think many people that are going to be drawn to your videos are overachieving women, two-time author. You have high expectations for yourself, and so maybe saying that even a 15-minute walk is just as amazing as a 30-minute walk.
Right. Yes.
And just allowing yourself that grace to put the bar a little bit lower, especially in something when you're trying to incorporate something that ultimately will be a life-changing thing. Starting small. I'm a big believer in starting with the small things.
Yes.
That is so great, Priscilla. And that's so funny. I had a person I'm coaching, and she was talking about she's have to run 100 miles within 100 days. And so I think it was 200 miles, 200 miles within 100 days. And she was trying to mentally as well as physically prepare herself for this. And so breaking it up into days for her to get to that place. And so what she did was she knew she broke up the days and said, I'm gonna go walk on the strand mill or whatever she had and walk on that for going after she got off from work. She knew, okay, let me do this, or in the morning, and really mentally preparing herself before the challenge. So basically she started walking before the challenge so she could prepare for the challenge. And with that being said, even though it may feel overwhelming, for an example, you may feel like as an entrepreneur, you may be busy, you may be gaining weight that you don't want, because during that time when you stress and you be emotionally eating and not getting to sleep, like Priscilla was saying, one of the key things that she incorporates, make sure we get enough sleep in order to even handle the stress that will also cause weight.
Yes.
One of the things we can also do is, if we may not be able to walk that 15 minutes, or we may not be able to walk that 30 minutes, you can walk at least 5 minutes. You got to say, you know what, I'm only going to walk for 5 minutes, and I'm going to do that at least 3 times within the day, and that's 15 minutes of walk. You know, even in your office, if you have an office, you could just walk around your chair while you're talking on the phone. Basically, especially a lot of people work in cubics environments, you just stand up and walk around your chair, and they're like, "What you doing? Still walking around?" And you can do a dance with it too. Do what you got to do to motivate you to keep it moving.
Get it done.
Yes, and with that being said, I want to ask Shanetta, Shanita, thank you so much. Oh, you look like my friend Shanetta. That's why I'm saying that. Shanetta, and I'm gonna post Shanetta. Y'all can go for sisters. Shanita, with the Valentines, for people that afraid, because they haven't been out in a while, but they do want that companionship and they want to meet people, but they have that fear. How will you encourage them to come and just show up and be themselves to your event on Valentine's Day?
Well, if they just come, we're going to have some conversation starters.
Okay, that's good.
That they can pick up and ask questions. I will be there to encourage them to, I can be the Cupid for them if I need to be. Just show up. Sometimes you just need to show up and everything else will fall into place. And so hopefully they will show up and get outside of their never know what may be there.
Right.
Their boo thing might be there.
Wow. So basically what you're saying, Shanita, is if they show up, you will be there, which will be a support.
Yes.
And you never know what will happen. At first, you may have a high level of anxiety. You have to get past that anxiety. Like Princella talk about your self-care part. Even though you may feel a little fearful, you're going to go, because at the end of the day, you want to connect with other people. So you focus on your goal instead of focusing on your emotions.
Exactly. And just relax and just come for fun, because, there's going to be bowling, there's pool, there's virtual reality, arcade, there's cars. Just come with not major expectations other than just having some fun and meeting some people, not necessarily that I'm walking away with a husband, but they walk away with a friend.
Well, don't come with a wedding dress on, ready to get married.
Relax and have some fun. That's what I tell them. You never know.
Right. That's awesome. And Princella, with your group, if someone first come into your group, tell them what they expect by going into your group.
So in our group, you'll start off watching a video that my partner and I did together and what to expect in the group. And one of the things is that we wanted to create an environment where anybody can feel like they can have the platform to share their business and to talk about some of the tough things that are happening for them in their business. And this helps us to kind of frame what our trainings are going to be about. We have our event that's coming up, which will be a workshop for 5 days of self-care, which I had mentioned earlier. So signing up for that to get you kickstarted in ways to really implement self-care into your life. So we start off with self-love and then go into each category of self-care. And so in that group, we infuse that piece, but then we also infuse easier ways of getting things done in your business when you're in the earlier years of your business. And for that component, we're asking women to share what are the struggles that you're having, where are you at now in your struggles? For instance, we have some women that have talked about how they were really excited about starting their 2020 goal. And now we're saying, how is your plan going? Many are saying it's not quite started where I wanted to, it's not quite kicking off to where I want it to be at this point. So then we talk about that. So what is your biggest struggle? And so really inviting women to share their struggles, share their tough times, and then reaching out to us when they're ready to be interviewed, to be a featured member where they get to share all the good stuff about their business.
Oh, awesome. And Shanita, tell us about your group. What would they expect? Widows and widowers, what would they expect when they come to your group?
Well, they're going to get a lot of love physically, and we always gift them a gift, whether it's a gift basket or money. One of the things that as a widow I experience is, once things calm down, people tend to a certain degree, or if you were a part of married groups, you're kind of outcast. And then sometimes people don't really know what to say to you, so they just kind of remove themselves and don't say anything. So we want to make sure that they feel comfortable in our setting, where they can share moments about their spouse without feeling some kind of way. It's a safe haven. Not only a safe haven, but a place where you're going to be cared for. You know it, because our hearts are very fragile as widows and widowers. And so in our care, in our circle, you're going to be loved on. Point blank.
Wow.
So you're safe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
safe.
So, wow. Thank you both. I cannot thank you enough. We're about to bring closure. This is a great, both of you did wonderful interviews. And I just appreciate you both telling us about your groups. And please know they are going to leave their information at the bottom, if you're on my personal page or if you're in Women Who Thrive, if you're on Shanita page as well as Princella page, they're going to make sure they put the information at the bottom of the comments so you can find them, get to know what they're doing, build that relationship with them, network with them. But this is what it's all about. That's the purpose for Raw Stories, so we can network, get to know, as well as help each other thrive. Will you all like to say something before we bring closure?
Well, I'll just start by saying that anyone that feels, and I mentioned this earlier, so I want to remind everyone that if you feel like you need more self-care and self-love in your life, I just want to invite you to just start implementing that today. And going to Women Who Thrive. Did I say your group name correctly? But going into that and proclaiming what your commitment is to and how you're going to infuse some self-care into your life. It's so important, and I want to just challenge you to do that. I'd love to hear what you'll be doing.
And yourself, Shanita?
I just want to also thank you again, and it was wonderful meeting Princella as well. But I just want to encourage people, because as we look at the stream for Women Who Thrive, and I look at my personal page, we see so many things happening in our lives from day to day, from moment to moment, that even when we find ourselves in a dark place, in a dark space, that we don't lose hope. And remember that the life after the rain. and that,
Mm.
be around people who genuinely will take care of your heart, because
Good.
it really
Yeah.
does matter
Mm.
during that time when you're in that dark space, that you believe that it will shine again. Don't lose hope. There
Mm.
is there is life after the rain.
Love it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, both. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. And thank you all for listening to Raw Stories. We appreciate you taking the time on your Tuesday at 8 o'clock through 9 o'clock. It has been a pleasure providing these interviews to you all. Please come again on next Tuesday. We have two wonderful people from Women Who Thrive that is ready to tell their story, ready to let you know about their businesses or their books or their podcasts. Thank you all for your support. And also, thank you for being a part of Women Who Thrive. And if you want to do an interview, if you want to do a live interview, please let me know. We do have some signups for the month of May and April. We have, I think, like 3 more slots available, and then we will start on June and July. We appreciate you all so much for being a part of Women Who Thrive, as well as listening to our wonderful interviews. I'm Dr. Nancia Leath, and I thank you in advance for watching Raw Stories. You have a good night.